Adam's Curse by William Butler Yeats, 1865 to 1939, and this was published in 1904. We sat together at one summer's end, that beautiful mild woman, your close friend, and you and I, and talked of poetry. I said, a line will take us hours maybe, yet if it does not seem a moment's thought, our stitching and unstitching has been naught. Better go down upon your marrow-bones and scrub a kitchen pavement or break stones, like an old pauper in all kinds of weather, for to articulate sweet sounds together is to work harder than all these, and yet be thought an idler by the noisy set of bankers, schoolmasters, and clergymen, the martyrs call the world. And thereupon that beautiful mild woman, for whose sake there's many a one shall find out all heartache, on finding that her voice is sweet and low, replied, to be born woman is to know, although they do not talk of it at school, that we must labour to be beautiful. I said, it's certain there is no fine thing since Adam's fall, but needs much labouring. There have been lovers who thought love should be so much compounded of high courtesy, that they would sigh and quote with learned looks precedents out of beautiful old books. Yet now it seems an idle trade enough. We sat, grown quiet at the name of love. We saw the last embers of daylight die, and in the trembling blue-green of the sky, a moon, worn out as if it had been a shell, washed by time's waters as they rose and fell about the stars and broke in days and years. I had a thought for no one but your ears, that you were beautiful, and that I strove to love you in the old high way of love, that it had all seemed happy, and yet we'd grown as weary-hearted as that hollow moon. Okay, this is a poem by W.B. Yeats. Let's see. W.B. Yeats is an Irish poet. He was a dramatist and a writer as well. He was an Anglo-Irish Protestant. Anyway, what's this about? So, Adam's Curse. So, the curse of Adam. This is talking about the title about being thrown out of the Garden of Eden, that when we lived in the Garden of Eden everything was easy. But what's this poem actually about? Well, I think it's asking the question, is there true love in this world? Is there beauty in this world? And maybe there isn't. I think it talks about the themes of poetry and hard work and beauty, and the theme of love as well at the end. And I think it also talks about time and how time changes relationships. So, we sat together at one summer's end, that beautiful mild woman, your close friend, and you and I, and talked of poetry. So, there are 3 people here, and it's the end of the summer. The 3 people are that beautiful mild woman, who is your close friend, and you and I. And we sat there and we talked about poetry. I said, a line will take us hours maybe. So, as a poet, it could take hours just to write a single line. Yet, if it does not seem a moment's thought, our stitching and unstitching has been naught. So if this does not flow beautifully and sound sound like this was something easy, then our stitching and unstitching, to stitch, to sew, so putting the words together and changing it around, then if it doesn't seem free and easy, then all our hard work has been for nothing. It's better to go down upon your marrow bones and scrub a kitchen pavement. So it's easier to do physical hard work, like scrubbing, like washing a kitchen floor, or break stones like an old pauper in all kinds of weather. So it would be easier to scrub floors or to break stones like a poor old person in all kinds of weather. So I think the pauper has no money and they're breaking stones because it's the only work that they can get. 4, to articulate sweet sounds together is to work harder than all these. So to write good poetry, to make poetry sound good, it's much harder than these types of physical work. And also at the same time, however, be thought an idler. So to be thought lazy, people call you lazy by the noisy set. So the people who seem to be important in life, the people who make all the noise in life, of bankers, schoolmasters and clergymen. Okay, so the bankers, the schoolmasters and the priests are telling everybody what they should do. And they call a poet somebody who's lazy. And then he's rather ironic about these people. The martyrs call the world. So I think the martyrs, the rest of us, the people who have to suffer these bankers, they consider the bankers and the schoolmasters and the clergymen, the rest of us have to suffer these people, even though we say they're what make our society. And then we have a change. We change away from poetry. And thereupon, that beautiful mild woman, for whose sake there's many a one shall find out all heartache, on finding that her voice is sweet and low, replied. So the beautiful woman who is your friend, replied. She said, so it was her turn to talk. And he describes her. He says that many people will fall in love with you, and this will cause them sorrow and pain and heartache. Because they will fall in love with you because you've got a low and sweet voice. So you've got a beautiful voice, and many people will fall in love with you. And then she said, to be born a woman is to know. So now she's saying it's very hard to be a woman as well. Being a woman is a very difficult thing. Although they do not talk of it at school, that we must labour to be beautiful. Okay, so they don't tell you at school, but it's hard work being beautiful, being a woman, and doing the things that our society expects you to do. And notice here, he's used what's called a half rhyme. Talk of it at school, to be beautiful. School and beautiful don't exactly rhyme, but they're quite close, and this is a half rhyme. I said, it's certain there is no fine thing since Adam's fall, but needs much labouring. So then I replied to her, it's clear that since the fall of Adam, since Adam and Eve were evicted from the Garden of Eden, then everything after that has been hard work. In the Garden of Eden everything was beautiful and easy, but after man left the Garden of Eden, then from there on it's been a life of hard work. And now he goes on to talk about love. There have been lovers who thought love should be so much compounded of high courtesy. Okay, so B, courtesy. So I think here he's talking about working hard at being in love. And there are lovers who thought that love was made up of being very courteous and very polite and very altruistic to the person that you love. And these people, they would sigh, and quote with learned looks precedents out of old beautiful books. So this type of lover who was working at their relationship, they would read books looking for quotes about love and how to love properly. Yeah, and they would quote precedents that sounded very intelligent, yeah, that they'd read in beautiful old books. Yet now it seems an idle trade enough. So now he's saying that in the past there were people like this who tried to do all sorts of romantic things and worked at love, but now love is just an everyday pursuit. It's an everyday pastime. It's something much more ordinary. And I think here he's voicing regret that maybe true love does not exist in the world nowadays, that it's something that used to exist, something that existed in classical literature and things like that, but today it's something that's really quite ordinary. We sat grown quiet at the name of love. So now he's changed again and he's looking at the scene. He's looking at the three people sitting there who've been talking. And when he starts talking about love, after that everybody grows quiet. They become quiet. We saw the last embers of daylight die. So, the last embers, the embers are the burning coals of a fire, what's left of it. So, the day is going down. And I think maybe this is reflecting the idea from the previous stanza about that love is no longer a romantic special thing that everybody would work at, but something much more mundane. So we saw the last embers of daylight die, so the day is finishing. And in the trembling blue-green of the sky, a moon, worn as if it had been a shell, washed by time's waters as they rose and fell. I've probably gone too far. So, okay, we saw the last bits of the daylight dying. And then he gives a metaphor, and he's saying that the last embers of daylight, we have a trembling blue-green of the sky. So the sky is going this blue-green colour. And then here comes the metaphor, and there's a moon hanging in this sky. And it's worn, it's tired, as if, so it's a simile, it had been a shell washed by time's waters as they rose and fell. So the moon, it looks old and tired. It looks like a shell that has been washed in the sea, but here by the waters of time. So it's been washed by time again as the waters rise and fall. So if you go to the beach, you'll find shells that have been on the beach, and slowly they get worn away, and they don't have any of the clear definition that they used to have. Okay, and then he goes on, as the waters rose and fell, so as they rose and fell about the stars, and broke in days and years. So here he's talking about the sands of time and the stars washing and breaking slowly the surface of the moon, so it's become old and worn. And here I think again, the moon or this shell, these are, or the daylight, these are all symbolizing the fall of love, that love is no longer something spiritual and eternal. And then he changes again. And now he says, I had a thought for no one's but your ears. So I had a thought, and I only want to tell you, so maybe he's going to whisper this into her ear, that you were beautiful, and that I strove to love you in the old high way of love. So he says he thinks she's beautiful, and he's in love with her, and he's trying really hard to love her in the old way of love, not in the modern way where it's something hackneyed and cliched and mundane, but in the old way where love is something spiritual and special. That it had all seemed happy, and yet we'd grown as weary-hearted as that hollow moon. So yes, people that relationships change, yeah, and I think this last bit, yes, we seem to have a relationship, but I think maybe that relationship is tired, and relationships change over time. And I think this is maybe a sad thought about the fact that love grows and is passionate, and then it changes and perhaps dies, and maybe he wants to rekindle the love and go back to the old way of loving. Yeah, so it's just not a tired thing like the tired, hollow, empty moon above. Wow, so there you go. Adam's Curse by William Butler Yeats. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Adam's Curse by William Butler Yeats. W.B. Yeats.